Well, listening to that in Canberra is our political correspondent, Greg Jennett. So, Greg, we are in for spending cuts in order to get back into the black next year. Let's go through some of the numbers.
Yes, Ros. Well, the government balks at the description of this as a mini budget, but at 370 pages, this is a weightier than normal mid-year economic update for Treasury. And it starts with that sober warning that international growth prospects have weakened markedly since their last outing in the May budget. So we see that in the bottom line for this financial year. Instead of the budget's forecast of a $22 billion deficit, we're now tracking towards a $37 billion deficit. But the government does cling doggedly to the expectation of a return to surplus next financial year. So when we do come back into the black, that's now expected to be by a very slender $1.5 billion. So that's less than half of the $3.5 billion buffer it had been predicting back in May. What's happened is revenue has fallen $20 billion across the next 4 years. And to limit the damage, the government has come up with nearly $7 billion in savings. And these include an efficiency dividend for the public service. That's worth around $1.5 billion. A crackdown on the living away from home allowance available to corporate executives working in Australia. That's worth about $700 million. Reducing the baby bonus from September next year by $400 and halting indexation on that payment for the next 3 years. And another saving, increasing visa charges. So this budget overall tells the story of a downturn in the short term, but some prospect of recovery in the further 3 out years.
So, Greg, this action has been taken mainly because of the European debt crisis, a debt crisis which is by no means over and could in fact get a lot worse. Could therefore more spending cuts be in line in order to get the budget back into surplus?
Well, just as Treasury has had to ride a fairly volatile global environment between May and now, you could fully expect that it will continue to do so through until the next scheduled update, which is indeed the May budget of next year. And that is the risk always to government revenue, that it's got a further downgrade. And what's the remedy to that? Yet more spending cuts due in May of next year. It remains a very real prospect because if you look at what the OECD and others are saying, Europe has a way to go yet before we know whether it's bottomed out.
Do we risk tipping our economy into recession, though, heading for problems if we cut spending by too much?
Well, the Treasurer was saying there in the media conference we heard that Australia's fiscal position, its budgetary position, is right for the economic circumstances and that he has what he calls a balanced approach. But the all-important question is, have they balanced it? Because, of course, if the withdrawal of government spending comes at the wrong time or is too severe, the jury's out on that yet. He's only just announced the numbers. But that will, of course, have the perverse effect of making things worse at a time when the economy is looking for more.
Greg, thank you.
Okay, thanks, Ros.